2 weeks before the wedding, my future wife had an affair with her gym trainer. I called off the wedding as a result. I'm 38 and I was engaged to my fiancée Cassie 2 months ago. Before that, we dated for 5 years and she was the kindest. She was a wonderful woman. There were no red flags in her behavior. She did everything she could to make the relationship work and remained loyal even during the most difficult phase, which was long distance. I know it's only fair to expect loyalty because it's a general responsibility, but in long-distance relationships, many people cheat. She always made me feel happy and I never felt anxious after she made an appearance in my life. Everything changed when she proposed to me. We were happily engaged, looking forward to our dream wedding in Paris. The days were getting closer and closer, and there was this thing. Cassie was insecure about her body and considered herself overweight. She was the most beautiful woman in my eyes, but she always felt very unattractive. I tried to make her feel loved and confident, but it rarely worked. As the wedding day approached, her anxiety about her body image increased, and it started to bother me. I finally decided to help her. We had endless conversations where I assured her that she looked perfect as she was, but she wasn't convinced. I thought about how she'd look in the wedding dress, but when I gave her my best advice, she didn't seem convinced. So I asked if she'd like a personal trainer to help her get in shape before the wedding. She seemed pleased. With hope, she hugged me. I didn't really want her to change because I really loved her chubbiness. It was cute and hot, and she was very happy and excited about it. She told me she had this thing on her mind, but she was hesitant to ask. I told her it was fine as long as it made her happy. She told me that. Her friends suggested a personal trainer named Sam, who also helped her get in shape. One thing about Cassie's personality is that she always wanted to look good and feel good. This was because during her high school years, she was bullied by her friends due to her weight. That's what she told me when we went on our first date. On our first date, I was really surprised because she looked amazing. I always saw her trying hard to fit in and show herself in a way that made her attractive to everyone. She felt empowered when someone complimented her, especially the opposite gender. At first, I was bothered that she didn't want to look good. I thought my compliments weren't enough to make her feel good, but then I realized it was because of the years of trauma she'd faced. She wanted to look good and then live her moment, and I was happy to give it to her. She only wanted to look beautiful in everyone's eyes, but she didn't flirt or show any red flags when she joined the gym. I offered to drop her off, but she asked me to meet her trainer. I had a busy schedule, so I had to refuse. She was wearing tight shorts and a sports bra with a jacket, so her body shape was visible. I felt a bit uneasy because of that. I was a bit uneasy about that, as there were plenty of other options. Instead, I looked at her and asked if she really had to wear that instead of leggings. She told me there was a dress code in the gym that she had to follow. As told by her friend, I was pretty shocked to hear something like that. I didn't think much of it at the time, but Cassie was going to live with me from that day on. After the session ended, she called to say she was leaving for work and asked me to pick her up after her evening session. I picked her up and finally saw Sam. He was a gym trainer and he was fine, muscular and very attractive. Cassie gave him a side hug and we both left. Things went fine for days, but then Cassie was all preoccupied with the gym. She was spending more and more time in the gym, and there wasn't much talking between us. She was coming home late every night, hanging out with the friends she'd made at the gym. Even after coming home, she wasn't really present. I started to doubt her without meaning to. I was excited to live together and enjoy the courtship period, but things were going the opposite to what I'd expected. Sometimes her behavior made me a bit concerned. It seemed like she wasn't that interested in having a conversation with me. When I asked her something or tried to start something, she looked unhappy and disinterested, but she was happy with her friends and Sam back at the gym. Whenever I got upset about her late comings or lack of attention, she'd defend herself by saying we're going to live together forever, so I shouldn't complain about these small things. After thinking carefully and checking my own behavior, I realized that I was being a bit toxic and suspicious for no good reason. I should never make assumptions on my own. Talking it out would be better for both of us. Holding things inside can create an unintentional sense of resentment in my heart for her. So I decided to talk to her and realized how badly she screwed up the whole thing we had. There were no lies, but Cassie was getting the figure she wanted. She looked really good and flattering. She was on a proper diet, and I decided to bake some cookies to get a chance for a conversation. I called her and asked her if she wanted me to pick her up. But she said no and told me she said she was already on her way, but she sounded really tired and stressed. I told her I wanted to talk to her, but she said she wasn't in the mood. I asked her what was wrong and she started to walk away. I couldn't control my anger anymore. I blurted out, "Did you enjoy your time with Sam? I saw your social media post." "Why does she never have time for me?" she snapped. "Do you want me to feed you those cookies so you'll gain weight and become unattractive?" she added. She was really rude and inconsiderate, and I lost my cool. I told her that I'd been thinking about how she'd changed since she started going to the gym. Instead of reassuring me, she started blaming me and saying that I doubted her and that I never wanted her to look pretty. I was trying to limit my contact with her because I was really taken aback by what she said. She also said that I could never relate to her because I had never been through what she had. It was another victim mentality. She threw it in my face and tried to make me feel guilty for hurting her. I told her that I told her I was just jealous and that I never thought she was cheating on me. I made those cookies to show my appreciation for her. She started crying and apologizing to me, which I hadn't seen before. I could tell she was in a bit of a state. I asked her if everything was okay, and she told me she and her best friend had had a bit of an argument over something silly. Her best friend had said some pretty mean things to her, and she was unleashing her best friend's anger on me. She apologized and she said she wanted to take a rest, so I gave her the space she needed. In fact, she was lying. We'll come to that later. I couldn't sleep at all and just kept changing positions. She was facing up on the other side of the bed, facing towards the wall. She wasn't asleep. I still wasn't sure what to make of it. The next day, I asked her to get ready to go to the gym, but she refused. I asked her if she'd quit the gym because of last night's fight with me. She smiled, hugged me, and told me that she was really tired and just didn't feel right. So she was avoiding the gym today. Her phone started buzzing, and it was Sam calling her. I asked her to pick it up and inform him, and she did, after hanging up the call. Sam called again 3 times, but she didn't pick up and went back to the room after having her breakfast. To be honest, that very moment I got suspicious. I noticed the gym trainer was calling her a lot, even after she said she wasn't going to the gym that day. I was looking for my file in the cupboard when I saw the book Cassie was reading fall to the floor. Something inside the book caught my attention. It was contraceptive pills. I was really shocked when I saw the pills. My hands were shaking and my heart was racing. I couldn't believe she'd used them, but it was too late. She'd already taken 2. I was really surprised because Cassie and I never had sex without protection. We never did because she didn't want to take contraceptive pills because of their side effects. I avoided doing it without protection, and seeing those pills made me feel sick. I put it back, left the place, and headed towards the office. I couldn't think straight. Was she cheating on me with Sam? I felt like crying because instead of I made some assumptions. I thought there was nothing I could do. The last time I spoke to her, it didn't go well. I thought there was nothing I could do. I could just wait for her to tell me what was going on. This changed how I behaved towards her. She asked me if I was okay. I just nodded and smiled. She thought that was fine. Maybe I was still upset about her behavior at dinner the other night. She asked me if everything was okay, so I nodded, but then I couldn't hold it in any longer and blurted out, "Why did you start taking contraceptive pills? I thought you knew about the side effects." She turned pale and looked at me like I'd accused her of something. I said it didn't matter, but she said it was the most classic line. I told her to go ahead with her explanation. She told me that she wasn't getting her period for a month, so the doctor advised her to have contraceptives. My heart sank and I realized she'd lied again. My suspicions were getting bigger, and I knew it was time for me to catch her red-handed. I asked her to show me her prescription. I couldn't believe that a doctor would suggest someone take contraceptive pills without a proper test. She couldn't say a word and told me that her prescription was at her place and that she would show it to me. She finished her food immediately and took the dishes from the table, trying to avoid any eye contact with me. But we had 5 years ago was turning into dust day by day as our wedding day was getting closer and closer, and it was just 2 weeks away. But for some reason, we lost all happiness. We hadn't had a chance to sit down and talk in days. It was the same old story after another week of refusing to go to the gym. Cassie asked me to drop her off. I drove to the gym and saw the closed sign. I asked her why she was coming today when the gym was closed. She told me that she wanted to meet Sam because of the supplements he was going to give her. I left her there, but my mind was still on the day I found those pills in her book. I was almost at my office, and my instincts were telling me to take a U-turn. After resisting for a while, I decided to turn around. I wasn't thinking straight. I was just letting my instincts decide my next action as I walked. I saw her and her trainer, Sam, in a compromising position. My heart sank as Sam leaned in to kiss her. Before that, my mouth had been about to scream. Cassie turned her head towards me and pushed him away. She was cheating on me. I really loved the girl, and seeing her like that I couldn't believe it. My suspicions, which had been growing day by day, were not just some overthinking. They were reality. I really loved her. I could imagine the biggest betrayal of my life. 2 weeks before our wedding, the invitation card, which was already printed, would be thrown in the garbage. Just like she'd thrown our relationship over lust. I guess it was her way of giving me a cheat day. My legs went numb, and Cassie followed me outside, asking me to give her a chance to explain. She was crying and weeping so loudly, and kept telling me that she really loved me, and that it was just a one. I was really shocked and upset by what she said. I left the place straight away, and I wasn't in the mood to talk to her. It was the most traumatic experience I've ever had. Cassie called me a lot, but I didn't answer because I just didn't have the energy to chat. I went to stay with my parents for a couple of days, while Cassie, she's been calling my phone non-stop, begging me to meet her. She knows I'm staying with my parents, but she daren't come here. She knows she'd be exposed and humiliated in front of my family. My parents have found out about the situation. It's just 2 weeks before the wedding, and I'm staying with them, leaving Cassie alone in my apartment. I haven't taken part in any discussion about the wedding. I'm not sure how long I can keep this from him. I don't want to hide it, but I want to get a handle on my emotions before I break the news to anyone. I finally told my parents and sister what happened, and why I was calling off the wedding. My mother couldn't believe it, and was completely devastated. She kept comforting me, and told me it was just part of life. I shouldn't let it ruin my future. I should just accept my fate and move on with my life. With time, everything would heal. I told her that time would indeed heal, but it would be without Cassie. I spent a few days with him before getting closer. I went back to my place, and as I opened the door, Cassie ran towards me, hugged me tightly, and started sobbing loudly. I felt nothing towards her. She stayed there for a while, silent, and I let her emotions flow. In the last 5 years of our relationship, I'd never left her to cry like that. But she was done making a victim of herself, and it was high time for her to accept her actions. I sat there, unmoved, like a statue. Finally, when she was done crying, she freed my arms and confessed everything that happened. You need extreme strength to listen to your partner's confession about cheating. She told me that she'd been attracted to him since the first day she started training at the gym. He used to look at her seductively and flirt with her, and she felt attractive around him. She said it was just an attraction, not romantic. Things escalated slowly while doing some exercises. He used to touch her because I couldn't help but listen, and it made me feel good. It was so hard for me to hear those things. I asked her if I wasn't enough for her. She remained silent and told me that she really felt loved by me and that she also loved me. But sometimes she felt like she wanted more. She said that Sam's way of approaching her was wrong. She was convinced to do something hideous like that. She brought up her past of being body-shamed. I laughed at her remark and told her to stop using her past as a justification for her cheating, as it had nothing to do with morals. I also told her that she loved attention and that she always liked to be seen. However, I ignored this. She remained silent, filled with guilt and regret. She continued with her explanation and told me that one day Sam and Cassie were having fun while doing the push-up. Then he started touching her. She tried to resist but gave in because it made her feel powerful and good about herself. She got possessed by her greed for attention and lost it. It wasn't safe sex, and that's why she had to take contraceptives. I almost broke down in tears. She told me she was regretting her decision not to go back to the gym, but it kept happening until she thought I was getting suspicious. She didn't realize that she'd put our wedding on hold just to feel good. I couldn't speak and sat there, buried my face in my hands. Cassie was. She was holding my legs and sitting on the floor, saying that she still loved me. She tried to hold my hand and lift my face, but I resisted and got disgusted by her touch. Once I'd finished listening to her, I took the ring off my finger, placed it on the table and told her there would be no wedding. She was shocked, as if I'd said something out of the blue. After doing something like that, she should have expected this. She told me not to make an impulsive decision that I might regret later. I told her that what I regretted most was trusting her blindly. I told her I was glad she regretted it, but there was nothing that could be done to fix this except completely cutting off our ties with each other. Our wedding wasn't some kind of comedy show, and so were my feelings. She should get back to what she was trying to do, make herself look attractive or powerful. Now she is free to do anything, and there will be no confinement. She started apologizing again, and kept on weeping, so I told her to stay away from me, and to stop showing me fake love and concern. I left the place and she followed me outside. I stopped. I turned back and told her to call her parents and let them know about this. It finally sank in that I was actually calling off the wedding. I met my sister, who told me to think it over again so I wouldn't regret it later. Cassie is really upset about it. She asked me to give myself some time and see if my emotions subsided. She said I should give her a chance. I told her I was making this decision deliberately. Everyone thought I was making an impulsive decision, but a person who could cheat you once can do it twice. I do love her, but I love myself more. I couldn't spend my whole life thinking my wife would cheat on me. Once trust is broken, it's gone. You're stuck in prison. I was heartbroken, but I knew I couldn't marry someone who'd betrayed me in such a cruel way. I called off the wedding, heartbroken. I imagined my life without her. After everything that happened with her, it was best that it ended. I was relieved it happened before the wedding, but after the marriage, I could have been in a worse situation. It was painful, but I knew I deserved better than someone who could cheat on me over some insecurity. I'm keeping myself busy with work and traveling. Honestly, it isn't as bad as I thought it would be.